The next major update for Granblue Fantasy Relink isn't just adding new content, it's testing systems that could completely change how the game plays at a core level. We're talking about team-based mechanics, co-op scaling, and a brand new summon system that rewards coordination instead of just raw damage. And right now, players are getting early access through a limited time open beta. So in this video, I'm going to break down everything, not just what's in the beta, but what actually matters when you jump in, what you should be testing first, and whether this is something you should spend your time on. The open beta runs from April 24th to the 27th, with preload available on April 23rd. And that short window is important, because realistically, you're not going to have time to master everything. This beta is more about quick experimentation and understanding systems than long-term grinding. It's available on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC via Steam. No codes, no registration, just download and go. But because it's open to everyone, expect high server load, especially on day one. This isn't just a demo, it's a live environment stress test. The developers are focusing on server stability under real player load, matchmaking and co-op performance, and combat flow and system balance. So if you notice things like delayed inputs, matchmaking taking too long, or damage feeling off or inconsistent, that's exactly the kind of feedback this beta is meant to surface. And more importantly, it means what you experience here may not reflect the final build. Content-wise, the beta is limited, but it's designed that way. You start with a tutorial to get familiar with the controls and mechanics, and 3 initial quests that introduce combat flow. Then after clearing those, you unlock a 4th quest that ramps things up significantly, and that final quest is where the real test begins. Because instead of just surviving fights, you need to understand your role, coordinate with teammates, and manage abilities and timing. It's less about can you win, and more about how efficiently your team plays together. Now let's talk about the biggest addition in this beta, the summon system. At surface level, it sounds simple. You build a gauge, you summon something powerful, and you deal damage. But in practice, it's much deeper than that. The summon gauge is shared across the entire team, which means every player contributes to building it, and every action matters towards a bigger payoff. And the fastest way to build that gauge is through link attacks, skybound arts, and coordinated team actions. So already, the system is pushing players away from solo playstyles and toward team synergy. Then once the gauge is full, you unleash a summon. But the real highlight is the Primal Burst. This is essentially a synchronized team finisher. Everyone contributes, damage spikes massively, and timing becomes crucial. So instead of combat being constant DPS, it becomes rhythm based. You build, coordinate, you burst, and then you reset. And that loop could define how endgame content plays if it carries over. The beta includes 12 playable characters, and each one fills a different role in combat. You're not just picking based on looks, you're picking based on function. Some characters focus on fast combos and mobility, heavy burst damage, range pressure and safety, and utility and team support. And because of systems like summons, your role actually matters more than usual. A well-balanced team can build gauge faster, control fights better, and trigger bursts more consistently. So part of the beta experience is figuring out what role you play and how that role fits into a team. This beta is heavily designed around multiplayer. Yes, you can play solo, but you're missing the point if you do. Everything from enemy scaling to summon mechanics, it's tuned for group play. And that means communication matters, timing matters, and team composition matters. If you want the real experience, jump into co-op as early as possible, because that's where you'll start seeing chaos, coordination, and whether these systems actually work under pressure. If you're jumping in, don't just play randomly, focus on this. First, try multiple characters quick. Get a feel for the different roles that they have there. Second, pay attention to how fast your team builds a summon gauge. That should tell you how well your group is playing together or not. Third, focus on the final unlocked quests. That's where the mechanics actually matter there. And finally, play co-op as much as possible, because that's what this beta is really about. There are bonus rewards tied to participation if you do link your account, so even if you only play for a few hours, you're still getting something out of it when the full version drops. This beta isn't about content, it's about direction. The shift towards team-based mechanics, coordinated burst systems, and co-op focused design suggests that the future of Granblue Fantasy Relink is leaning heavily into multiplayer synergy over solo performance. And whether that works or not is exactly what this beta is here to test. So if you're planning to jump in, here's the real question. Do you think the summon system is going to feel balanced, or is it something that players are going to completely break once they optimize it? And more importantly, what role are you planning to play when you start? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the skies.